All right, gang, good evening, everyone. So we're going to charge on and hopefully Karen can join us here shortly. So at this time, we'll call the January 10th, 2022 meeting to order. The regular session of the Cascade School District Board of Directors will now convene via Zoom. The laws governing boards of education require that their work be done where the public can observe their actions. Please remember that this is the board's meeting for the public to observe. Others may participate only with approval of the board. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. Okay, we've got a guest list, I guess. So number 3 is approval of the minutes for November 8th, 2021.
I move to approve the November 8th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 8th, 2021 board meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
I think we can go right straight down the process this evening. Should be good.
All right. Then we'll move on to 5A, which is superintendent's report. Mr. Drill.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a 2022 new year. Hopefully you're looking over your shoulder if you're a football fan to watch the national championship game. If not, good for you. Too much football probably is not the best thing in the world on TV. So we're back in person. And as you might be aware, this evening, I put out a parent square to our community about our intentions as I've talked to you guys, board members, about our plan as the variant continues to deal with us on a regular basis. Today was a good day. We did not have a lot of staff out. That is good, more so than many other districts around us and up and down the valley and across the state. We will continue to be in-person instruction. We will work very hard at that. Unless we are told we can't by ODE and or OHA. And to this point, they have not told us that. They've made recommendations, but they have not required us to do something. So in the meantime, we continue on with education in school, full days, every day. And unless we run out of staff, and at the moment we are okay with that. We have staff that are missing. Not just dealing with COVID, but with other issues. They got sick, they have the flu. Somebody in their family is sick. They've got to, deal with the very normal things that we deal with on a regular basis. So right now we're at a place where we can continue to move forward. What I said in the letter was that we will continue to track our cases with our school nurse, with our administrators in our buildings, and with our assistant superintendent, Don Moorfield, who helps to kind of coordinate that along with Kathleen Johnson, our special ed director. We have a team, and don't forget Brian Dyer, our safety person. They are spending additional time working on this and checking in on a very daily basis to make sure that we are able to move forward and that we have enough staff to go ahead and run schools safely. So we're in that process. We deal with it on a daily basis. If indeed we have a situation in a classroom, in a grade level, or even in a building, we will take a look at that and we will do what we have talked about with regard to is a pause. We are not interested, I am not interested unless you tell me so, in online education again. It was not a favorable thing. I would prefer to go what we call a pause, where we are asking our staff to work at a day or 2 or 3 of packet type work that they can continue, or to check in with their teachers if they need to, and then a couple of days of maybe an extended weekend, and then get back into school as soon as possible when the time where we've had to quarantine or wait has passed. Our goal is that if a class has to be quarantined, then we will do that, but the rest of the building will continue. We believe really strongly, after talking to our administrators, reading many articles, that having kids in school is the most important thing, right? And a number of you have talked to me about that. We say that it's important. And as a very last resort, we would talk about some other stuff. I know that other districts around us have handed out computers, have done some things. We have talked about how to use computers, but for the most part, what we've talked about is talking with our administrators, our principals about preparing in case we need to be out with what we call a pause for a week or so, and then getting right back to school. So that's what we're after. As to extracurricular activities, it's the same thing. There have been recommendations, but no requirements. And so for the sake of our kids, for the sake of the emotional well-being of our students, we continue to try to make sure that we move forward. So that's probably the biggest issue that's happening right now. We continue to monitor on a daily basis. Every day, every morning, we check and see how many people we have going. So far, so good. Knock on a big piece of wood. Hopefully we can kind of weather this peak and then be in a place where we can go ahead and move forward into late January, early February, and go from there. So the second piece is probably just as important. And if we didn't have to deal with COVID, this would probably be the most important news, that the prefabricated 4-classroom building is on schedule to be delivered to Turner. If you get a chance to drive over there, the site has been cleared, the rocks are in. When we started this process, we were told between COVID and supply chain issues and everything else, it would be 6 to 8 months before we could get this done. We believe we are on schedule for the end of this month, the first couple of weeks of February, that if we can do that, we will have this done in just a little over 3 months. So that means the building would be in, it would be functional. We would have occupancy papers from Marion County and Turner, and we would be moving forward in the process. I want to thank Tom Lovell. You guys have known him for a long time, having worked here for 40 plus years. He just knows everybody at the county, at the city, has done a number of these projects for us before, has worked with just about everybody we can get our hands on to make sure that this thing moves quickly. And he's really cut through a lot of red tape. Excuse me. We'd also like to thank Joe Lule, our maintenance operations person, along with his staff, the city of Turner for partnering with us and helping us through the process, and Modern Building, our local group that's building the prefabricated classrooms. They have really helped us out and made this thing go smoothly. So really excited about that. And we're hoping that when we get that thing in, Turner's overcrowding issues will probably get at least stemmed for 2 to 3 years. That's what we're hoping for. And I know that Mrs. Iverson and Mrs. Federico, principal and vice principal there, along with the staff at Turner, have already begun moving things around, getting things ready, putting things in boxes, taking things out of boxes, so that when that modular lands there and we can get it ready to go, we'll have it ready as soon as possible. So the last piece on my other part of the report is our enrollment numbers. They continue to hold. As a matter of fact, they went up just a couple of students. And what's interesting is that the students, we've got about 88 more students than we did this time last year. Last year in the middle of the COVID first year, we went up a little bit, which was nice. So we've got about 88 more students than we did this time last year. Scott can fill you in about the finances about that. That's good news for us. And there's actually 49 more elementary students than last year at this time, and 39 more secondary students. So it's very balanced, very balanced. So that's what I got for this evening. Any questions on any of that?
I have a question, Darren. I just want to make sure I heard this right. If worst case scenario, we do move to this pause, that does include extracurricular activities. Is that?
Only if we're really told to. So like if we go to a pause, let's say for some of the classes in a high school, we would continue to do our extracurricular activities, just like we did last spring when we were at home, doing distance learning. So my goal is to make sure that we continue to do that, unless, like many other schools, right, they have a team that has COVID and it needs to do some quarantining. And I know that Mr. Ganfield has already worked with the league. I know that Mr. Rasmussen has already talked to the league, that if we need to put a pause on it and reschedule a game, they will try really hard, particularly our league games, to reschedule those. So I feel like we've gotten good support from our league as well. Everybody seems to be saying, let's make sure that our kids play and are involved. So our goal is that. I didn't mention that tomorrow I will sit in an all superintendent statewide meeting with ODE and OHA. And hopefully not a lot will change. I'm guessing there'll be a lot of recommendations, but as I said, recommendations are one thing, requirements are something different. So the pause would be, I suppose, if the entire high school went on a pause, which I do not see happening. I think we try to do it classroom by classroom. It'll be difficult, but we'll try. Our goal would be to try to continue with activities. We have had more than one parent remind me about how important those are, and I totally agree.
Okay.
Hey, Darren, I'm going to ask you a question. You mentioned that we have a number of teachers and staff out due to being ill. Do we have a normal number or percentage, I guess, on a normal cold and flu season, what we expect for absentees on any given day during, the middle in a normal January or February?
Sure. Dawn would probably have a much better exact number. So if I go way out of bounds here, I'll expect Dawn to jump in and correct me. But like today, we checked in of the 135 or so teachers, we had 14 that were out. That's fairly typical in flu season.
Right, 10%.
Somewhere between 9 to 15, right? That can happen. And as she looked down the reasons why, not all of them were obviously COVID related or even flu related. We had some that were out because of a family member, some that were out because they had personal leave. They get to have that leave. That's part of their contract. So unless I'm way off, Dawn, can you shake your head no or yes? Am I okay?
You're good.
Okay. So I know that Dawn tracks
10% is what we're talking.
Go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry.
About 10% of people being out.
I think so. 3 years ago, we actually had a building that had so much flu that we actually talked about closing it just with flu with the number of kids. Right. And we got to the 3-day weekend that's coming up here next weekend, and that helped it. So we were able to avoid that process. So I've seen schools do that before, but we're right around the average right now. I mean, but knock on some big wood here, because I really don't want that to go flying upward. That's when we start to get worried about that. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, folks?
Darren, I have a question just on the substitute teacher situation. Can you talk about that? Which direction has that got? Have we have any relief there at all? Or
well, the upside was that our administrators across the district early on, and Dawn and everybody did a great job of saying, hey, we need to hire a couple of full-time subs. And we did that. They are being used almost every day. So that helped us a little bit. We were looking for somebody that could do it. 2, we were looking for somebody that is of quality. And we have one that's local person. She lives in our district. Her kids have gone here, does a great job. The other person's done a great job as well, but they are busy every day. As to the others, so like 14 today, I think Dawn told me that 4 or 5 positions did not go filled, which is pretty normal this time in this year. That sounds very, very normal for every other superintendent across the state. So what does that mean? It means that our administrators are filling in. It means if we have to, the district office is filling in. It means if we have to, very highly trusted instructional assistant steps in, and then a teacher and or administrator checks in with them on a very regular basis inside of a period to make sure everything is going well. So I would say to you, it's a little bit better, but I would also say to you that, on a bad situation, we're not going to be able to cover everybody. That's just the reality.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Mr. Drill.
Thank you.
Moving on to 5B, Finance Director's Report. Mr. Pillar.
Good evening, everyone. You have my report in front of you. Our finances are looking very good as we wrap up the calendar year, mostly due to enrollment. It's helping out a lot. Our enrollment is going up, and on average, the statewide enrollment is going down. So ODE reconfigured their calculations for the state school fund in November. And so we have, for the December payment and all the payments going forward, we've seen a decent bump in that state school fund number. So that's very good news for us. And it sounds like those numbers are holding steady, which is also very good news for us. So that allows us to do some more planning and some things for not only this year, but in years moving forward. We are January means actively managing and drawing down most of our grants. We've got a nice break point at the end of the calendar year. And so we will be pulling down grant payments from all of the 22 grants that we're actively managing right now. So that's some good news. And it keeps us busy, but it helps our cash flow considerably. Other good news, our audit is complete, finally, just in the last minutes, and it's a clean audit. We've had no dings or any question costs, which I'm proud of, and a little bit surprised, honestly. It's been a hectic year, and to have a clean audit in this past year is saying something for my staff. I think they do a great job. And we're also moving forward with the seismic grant. We had a meeting over break with the engineering team and the contractor, the CMGC. We picked DSL Builders out of Salem. They've done a lot of work in seismic programs and seismic grants on the coast. They've worked with Lincoln County schools, and I have some contacts there, and they've worked really well with them. So we're looking forward to getting moving on that. And so far, everything is a go for us, starting as soon as the kids are out of school. So that's my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Scott, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. One, first, thank you to you and your team getting that clean audit. That's great. And so thank you for what you all do there. The other question is, it appeared that the audit got pretty close to the deadline. Is that something that was on us, on them? It just happened that way? And I asked that because I got that email too saying, hey, we need this now. Yeah, no, that was on them. Okay. COVID has really impacted their auditing team, their entire staff, and they picked up a couple. Polly Rogers is our new auditors. This is the first year that they worked with us, and they had a number of different delays. They had some illnesses, short staffing. They've lost actually 5 staff to other school districts, interestingly enough, because those school districts, with all the federal money that's coming in, they needed in-house auditing support, the larger districts. And so where did they go? They went to their auditors and they poached some of those employees. Oh my. So the lead auditor on our audit left, I think, in October to go to work for Beaverton or maybe Portland Public. I can't remember which one. And so they were really scrambling. We were scrambling. It was kind of a mess. When I talked to ODE about it, they said that they had a number of districts this year that more than they've ever seen that were getting their audits in late. We got ours in with an hour to spare. So nice job. Well, again, thank you very much. Oh yeah, my pleasure. Wonderful. Any other questions for Mr. Pillar? Nope. All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Next is C High School Principals Report. Mr. Rasmussen.
Good evening, folks. You have my report in front of you. I first want to say happy Board Appreciation Month. We are grateful for the service that each one of you provides to us in our district and our community members. It is out of the goodness and kindness of your heart. So we thank you so much for the time you put in, thoughts and the efforts. To commemorate that, we have a small gift we want to give to you. Cheryl has those and she'll be getting those to you soon. So once again, thank you so much for all of you guys' effort and service. My board report in front of you is pretty self-explanatory this week. I'd really like to just take a few moments to just be appreciative of the office staff in the high school. Tina Christensen, the main office manager, and then Robin Van Ochtemal, athletic secretary, and Corinne Davis do an outstanding job. And for me coming in new to the high school this year, it's been fantastic just to completely trust them, get their work done, and to be the face of our school. So I'm so thankful for that. And then I'm also grateful for the administrative team. Each of them is doing significant things right now. In the report, I outlined that Tyler Woodrow is working on honoring great kids, doing great things, setting up meals for kids, giving them notoriety for things they've done in classes, good attendance, those kind of things. Tim Ganfield, in addition to all the athletics, spearheads the Hall of Fame awards night, dessert night that's coming up very soon, the first week of February. We have 3 very great candidates coming forward on that too. So thank you for the work there, Tim. And then also for Tony Walisa. She's in charge of our CT programs. She just completed a revitalization grant with Justin Brill, our new FFA coordinator. And we are shooting for the moon, hoping to get some amazing equipment out there. tractor and a forklift. It's big money, but we are excited for the work that Tony's doing in conjunction with all of our CTE teachers. So we're really happy with the progress there. Lots of great things happening in the midst of times of somewhat confusion and a little bit of unsureness, but we're just charging full speed ahead. So do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Rasmussen before I ask mine?
Well, I don't have a question. I did want to give a shout out to the teachers, and it really is the teachers K through 12. I know that when we were talking about substitutes and the lack of, I know a lot of our teachers are filling in for classes on their preps. And if a teaching day is hard enough, but some teachers are doing it day after day, and they are just to be commended. And I'm just really proud of them.
Totally agree. It is, we could not do it without those teachers filling in some days. One day we had 3 absences with no substitutes. And so, where administrators are filling in, we've got teachers covering on their preps, and it's, a heavy load because they're teaching classes and they get 1 hour, 1 hour and 15 minutes to get all their work done. And now we're asking them, hey, would you mind going into another classroom for us? And they do it. So we're grateful for their efforts, and they are absolutely amazing. They've adjusted so well by having in-person classes and then putting everything online. So if a student is quarantined, they can be communicating email back and forth. The kid can go on to Google Classroom and get almost all of the materials and the assignments they need. It's worked really flawlessly that way this year. There are exceptions here and there, of course, but I'm grateful for the teachers. They are certainly making it happen. Thank you, Ms. Stevens, for notifying us of that.
All right, Pete, I'm going to ask you a question. I want to talk about Avid real quick.
You got it.
So we get a lot of reports on Avid and all the good things that are happening from that. And my question is, are all school districts using Avid statewide? Is that something that we've elected? And if schools aren't using Avid, is there another program they use? I mean, I guess I'm asking, why did we pick Avid? And are there other things like it?
I'm really not aware of other things like Avid. I really am not. Avid is a comprehensive program that takes a select group of students and moves them to the next level. A lot of times these are historically kids who have never gone to college or come from a background that is doesn't have that college career track embedded in them. And then what I love about Avid is they've also added a second wider dimension, and that is the school-wide approach. And so we get to infuse professional development activities into all of our teachers, not just our Avid teachers or the 60 or 80 kids that are in Avid classes. I've attended a couple of webinars with principals for Avid this year. I've got another one scheduled in February. We're taking some teachers to Seattle for our Summer Institute. And that is, I think it's the best PD I've ever had. And I've been in education a long time. Taking teachers to that, spending 2.5 days in front of these instructors, some of the best, most hands-on stuff that I can take immediately back and put into our schools, into our classrooms. So I'm not aware of anything else akin to Avid. Not every school district in the state does it. And to be honest, a lot of schools are kind of restarting Avid because of COVID. Avid is relational driven, just like most great programs. And with COVID and the pandemic and distance learning, we just were not able to develop those relationships to the same depth. So no, I'm stoked about Avid. It is a rebuilding year for us. Some of our Avid leaders have gone on to other buildings and other places. And so we are really starting from the ground up, so to speak. But my goal is to take 16 people to Summer Institute. That means they're giving up 3 days of their summer to spend getting better at their profession. So I'm excited about that.
Pete, how many years have we been doing Avid now?
High school started at first, I want to say 6. I don't know if Mr. Thatcher's a bit around, but I want to say 6. But to be honest with you, we are truly restarting in a lot of ways. We've got classes set up, but in some ways we're reteaching kids what it is. We're getting back into the instructional strategies that Wicker espouses, and getting those back into our teachers and reminding of them these are great engagement tools that you can use with your kids. So it's a restart for us in lots of ways.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. That answered my question. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. You bet.
Hi, Karen. Welcome. You're on mute if you care. Any other questions for Mr. Rasmussen? All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Moving on, we've got junior high principals report. Ms. Leday.
Good evening. So thank you so much for everything that you guys have done. And I just like to take tonight, you have my board report, but last month was so much for junior high about giving and giving back to the community. And I'm so proud of the junior high for all that they stepped up and participated in. We had our AVID group, which you guys have been talking about, and they stepped up and raised just under $4,000 and helped. The best part about that was that they got to go, the kiddos did, to shop at Walmart and buy toys for students or for kids in our community that were then donated to the Turner Fire Department. And we had 5 different staff members going with different groups of kids with their own credit cards. And they just had a great time giving back to, and then they had their calculators to make sure they stayed under budget. But so it was a great math lesson, plus just a great opportunity for us to get out and give back. And then the junior high has participated in the food drive for years, but with COVID, it definitely has been challenging the last couple. And our staff and students stepped up, and it's quite a competition. If you've ever taught 6th grade with Miss Bielenberg, she always hides her food away, and you never quite know how much she has hidden there. But she came out strong, but we had other teachers, know her game. And so they tagged right along. So we ended up in the end, approximately 70 families with over 400 and some people benefited from the food boxes that had been donated. So I'm just super proud of our staff and our students for all that they have done in this past month to really give back for everything, and so that's a good job for the junior high. Any questions that I can add?
That's just a lot of work on top of everything they're already doing. So thank them very much for us.
I will do that. And Mr. Slagle, this was his first time taking on the food drive, and it is a lot of work. Let me tell you, a lot of heavy lifting, and both mentally and physically. And he stepped right up and went for it, and he did a great job.
Wonderful.
Good job.
Great.
Good job, Debbie.
So before I leave, though, I definitely want to say thank you so much to the school board for all you do. And before I pass the baton, figuratively, to Mrs. Gailey, our track coach / assistant principal and everything, she's the one who actually found this great video. And so she's the one who's going to share it. But I thought it just resonated so much with what you do, kind of these unsung heroes and behind the scenes, and you don't get a lot of recognition for all that you've done to keep us in school and help get kids here, which is what we need. And so thank you. So Mrs. Gailey is taking it over from here.
Okay, I'm going to share screen, so if I need special permissions, please tell me. Maybe. I'm out of the classroom for a year and I can't remember how to click everything. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
To start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader and we don't let ourselves take credit for it and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school, on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, I remember the first time that I met you. And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad. And I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what. And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration. And I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision. And as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said, everybody lost it, 20 feet in every direction.
No. It never fails. Just a second. I'm sure it'll be great. Well, I'm going to say that. I'm going to tell you what he said. Are you ready? Are you ready for me to finish the story? This is like story time. So he hands a lollipop and she's super embarrassed, but everyone laughs and it's like an amazing moment. So 4 years later, he's going to leave his job. She comes up to him. She tells him the story, right? And she looks at him and says, you are the reason that I stayed here. Your kindness, you coming out, you saying those things, that's the reason that I stayed. And she starts to walk away and she stops and she turns around to him and says, and that guy that the lollipop, I'm still dating him. Oh. And so then a year later, he gets a wedding, the wedding card in the mail to go see their wedding. And the whole point of the story is he doesn't remember that moment. And I think that that's what Debbie was wanting to tell you guys is that we know what you're doing behind the scenes. And we thank you so much for that. And that we have lollipop moments all the time and you probably don't get told enough. Debbie?
And so we have lollipops for you, for your unsung heroes. You know, you might not know all that you do, but we do behind the scenes. And we so appreciate everything you do to help us. So lollipops are coming your way and we'll send you the link that you can watch as well. But it's a great story.
He does tell the story a little bit.
Thank you guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Nice. Ms. O'Day, are we done? Are we done on the two of you?
Mm-hmm. Well,
done
I have a
me.
report.
Molly's next.
Okay, okay. So we're moving on then. All right, thank you, Ms. Leday. We'll move on to the junior high assistant principals and title report.
Hello, your report is in front of you. I'm only doing title tonight. This is my first year doing this. I wish I had a step count on how many steps I went to Debbie's office and back every day because she's been a huge help. I couldn't have done it without her. I also wanted to say thank you to Scott with your help with the financials. It has been great. I think in my report, I said that we were still waiting on one on Title III, and we've actually been approved. So all our budgets are approved, which is great. I'm very excited about that. all our rollover funds, we got rollover from Title 1, 3, and 4, and those have also all been approved. Speaking of Title 3, I haven't worked a ton with them, but the couple times I have, I've been so impressed with our EL group. Katie Rojas, Jackie Everett, Carlos Pasillas, Susan Barney, Rebecca Cloris, Yvette Griffith supporting. They have just jumped in and they've taken our kids that need help, and they have been they're so passionate about what they do and the help that they give these students, and they just really have impressed me. And they're coming up with some creative ways. We're looking at some parent support things, and I've just been very impressed with them. It's been really neat to see it from a different side. Instead of being the educator, I'm seeing it from a different side, and so they've just done a great job. You guys can read my report. Are there any questions that you would like to ask? I'll do my best.
Well, I got questions for you. I'm seeing if anyone else has one. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to ask. So on the rats, I moved pages. Hang on. There we go. On the Title 2A and Title 2A carryover, you say most of these funds will be used to support math professional development. What does used to support math professional development mean? Are we just talking training? Are we talking, what are we talking?
So Title 2 does our PD, so any of our professional development. So we have the new iReady Math, so we can support any of that. We have, where else am I? So any of the PD, so we've had some people that need to go back to classes. We've been supporting them with helping them pay for classes. So it's gonna go to as much as possible to kind of help with that, those math interventions, and working kind of through there as far as I can tell so far.
Okay. And then the same question for the Title III, it says, our carryover budget was approved this year, and we have approximately $19,000 to carry over. Title III requirements, each district is required to provide some form of family engagement. And it was ways to increase family engagement in safe and supporting ways. What does that mean? What does that look like?
So one of the things that I heard really loud and clear from our EL staff is that our parental involvement we need to be better. We need to do more things. And so a couple years ago, pre-COVID, they were starting to do some neat dinners, and they'd bring them in, and they talk about all the supports that there are for not only EL students, but for the EL families. And so in the meetings that we've had, they've said, we need help putting that family support structure together. So we're truthfully just in the very beginning, we're asking other districts, what are you doing? How are you kind of getting through with all this COVID stuff? We'd love to have some big, gatherings and bring people in and let them have everyone get the resources that they need to be able to be successful. And so that's what that was supposed to mean, is we're looking for those family resources to help, and parental involvement to help at home.
So we're not necessarily providing the service, we're helping to facilitate or to guide them, to point them in the right directions.
Correct. And we have EL tutoring that happens after school. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. We want to make sure that they're aware of any services that they could get. We want to help them learn. We want to help people learn how the structure of education goes. I mean, if you're new to our country, you're not going to have any idea what this looks like. And so, I'm assuming you won't. And so we want to help with those resources to help them to be more successful.
Okay. All right. That was my question. Any others?
I do. How many different languages are the ELL helping right now? I mean, automatically you think Spanish, but I know there's more.
I also know, and Karen, I'd have to look a little closer, and there might be somebody in this room that might have that answer. But you're correct. The Spanish, I know that there's a little bit of Russian, there's some Chinese. Kathleen's like, I know. I knew Kathleen would know. Kathleen, can you help me? Help me.
Did you see that? Like, don't say anything. Yeah, there's Mandarin, there's Russian, there's Spanish. We have those are the predominant languages, with a few little things that slide in, but typically those are our languages that we have.
Okay, Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on, we've got elementary principals report, and we have Mr. Dyer and Ms. Iverson.
Right. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, on the way home, we just kind of hurried home from Turner, and my son said, "What's the hurry?" And I said, "I have to get to the board meeting and present." And he said, "Is that important?" I said, "Yeah, they're my bosses." And he said, "Well, how much do they get paid?" And I said, "Well, Luke, they volunteer." He said, "What?"
Yeah.
They volunteer. And I said, "Yeah, that's that community service thing we talk about that is essential to, you know, a good place to be. And we do appreciate all the volunteering that you put forth. And Karen, I mean, I've known you since we first got to Oregon and transplanted here. So
Right.
thank you for all of your years of service."
Thank
And
you.
Brett, before we get to Turner, though, I have to mention Avid, because the class of 2020 that got shortchanged from having their incredible celebration of everything they accomplished, you know, was shut down with COVID. And the class of 2020 was the first Avid class at Cascade High School. When they were freshmen and we started Avid, they were the class that went around to the community of Turner and conducted a survey about what people wanted to see in the new park going around the lake. And now look at the development there. That class earned $486,000 in scholarships. They were the only class in the whole state of Oregon that had 2 $100,000 Ford scholarships. And out of 16 kids, 13 are still pursuing their degree. We had a homeless child who is in his second or third year at Willamette University, still doing well. Our kids found a sense of place with Avid, but the big emphasis was that community service. They had over 4,000 hours total as a class. And just like all of you, serving their community was an emphasis. So I'm so glad that we have that program, and we'll continue building those relationships with kids and emphasizing bettering our community.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So now on to Turner. You have my report in front of you showing that each class is going to conduct a community service project. And we've done some quiet things like a first grade class planting some flowers to beautify our campus, to kind of some big and splashy, like the fourth graders who had the toy hygiene and food drive partnering with Turner Fire. The best part is the kids had no idea that the fire trucks were going to roar into the school so that they could pick up all the products in the great toy drive. We had an incredible week of holiday celebrations. The manufacturing class made ornaments that we personalized for each child, and they went on a hunt to find their own, to the kicking off our words that we live by and kindness in the 12 days of kindness that led up to holiday break. There's a lot of exciting things, as Darren outlined. The wonderful Taj Mahal of classrooms is supposed to be dropped onto campus next Wednesday. And then after that, we expect it will take some time to move in, have the ADA walkways and all of that completed. We're excited for that to be our new library and fifth grade wing. Today, for the first time in their life, our first graders ate inside in a cafeteria. And they thought it was exciting. It was time, you know, it was getting a little chilly, and it really went well. The downside of that is we will not have the library for approximately a month or so until we get moved in. But the upside is we have a wonderful new reading room that's all set up for kids, and they were excited to eat indoors. We've had some incredible moments. We want to keep kids in school where they belong. And COVID has really forced us to think differently. Eating outside is probably not over for Turner. As soon as the weather warms up, we'll be back out there, and we brand ourselves as the outdoor school. We couldn't honor our veterans by having them come and visit campus. So we did different celebrations and shout outs on social media. Kids submitted their friends and family members, and we wrote up a little something about them. We challenged students to do something for veterans, which resulted in a first grader getting honored with a special medal from his neighbor because the teacher encouraged them to write thank you letters. We have a lot of hands-on science activities. The fifth graders enjoyed taking apart owl pellets. And we have an incredible fourth grade simulation that the teachers have been working on that's going to last approximately 2 months to teach our fourth graders real world finance and making decisions about how they're going to spend their money. What's next at Turner? We have our classrooms being placed soon, which is very exciting. We use some childcare reimbursement funds that came in just based on our enrollment. And I signed the contract a couple weeks ago to have a cover built on the original outdoor classroom slab that was placed for camp. We have assessments along with the other schools coming up at the end of the month, which we're very excited to see the progress in literacy and math. And we also had an incredible donation from PH Tech. A friend of mine works there, for everything from our incredible artificial Christmas trees that we put up around campus to some fitness equipment, which led to cleaning up our stage. It's no longer a storage area and turning it into a staff wellness center. Friday, we found out Debbie Leday and I applied for a wellness grant of $15,000 because as droves of professionals leave education across the country and in Oregon, I think the next emphasis needs to be how do we retain and care for our staff? And I believe a wellness program. We had a personal trainer come Thursday and meet and do some weekly group trainings to making sure we have fruits and vegetables, to allowing them to take the time to care for themselves. You know, we have that philosophy with kids that if they're cared for and feel valued, they're going to work harder and learn more. And I think it's time to apply that to our staff as well. So we have probably 95% buy-in to the wellness program and a lot of excitement about that. So it was fun to offer that right when they came back from break. And hopefully it'll last longer than the average person's resolutions. So I will be happy to take any questions that you have about the state of our school.
What are you doing with the current library if you move the library out to a modular?
The library, yes, our cafeteria housed our RTI literacy program, which is composed of different stations with dividers in between each, because we have, now that we've hired 2 more IAs to fulfill some of our personnel gaps, they help with RTI, with that intensive literacy. So the library is now housing that program with 5 different stations set up so that when kids, like say a first grade class has their RTI time, the kids that need help, response to intervention with intensive literacy, they go into the library, now the RTI program, and they go to a station and they have different drills and different opportunities to increase their literacy. One of the great educational researchers who's researched and puts together these meta studies of like 30,000 studies, John Hattie, besides teacher efficacy in believing that kids can learn is number 1 in how to move the needle on student learning. And number 2 is response to intervention. If you really want to push the needle of kids learning, you put them in small groups and you intervene, you provide interventions, whether it be in literacy or in math. And that's the best way to get kids caught up.
Okay, so why would you, I'm just asking this, why would you move the established library out and instead of setting that up in the new classroom?
I'm glad you asked, because I had a lot of sleepless nights when I first got the job as to what should go where. But all teachers escort their students to the library, which we only have a couple days a week.
Okay.
And so being outside, it's only a couple days a week. Teachers will walk the class to the library, but all kids 5 days a week go to RTI. So if you have 8 kids in a 5th grade class that goes to RTI, or 10 third graders, they go down to RTI on their own. So it was essential that the response to intervention literacy program be in the main building where our little children are and not go outside. But library is a distinct time that teachers walk their kids to. So it was okay that it was outside in a building a bit removed from the main building.
Okay.
That was the reason for that. Yeah. Because, you know, you'll see kids, where are you going? They're going to RTI, and there might be 4 of them from a class because it's their RTI time.
Right.
And the reason for the 5th grade, yeah, because they're the oldest ones, it is slightly removed. You know, we do have a creek right behind there, which is always a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 years, we're going to have a free room in that building, but it's already set up. It's going to be a create a space area. So a class could sign up and they could take their class into this room, and they can do science, hands-on STEAM. They could do Legos, sensory experiences. It's going to be a place to create small woodworking kits, sewing kits. So believing that kids need time and a place to create, like maker space. So it's going to be a really cool area that we'll have for 2 years, as well as art projects.
How far from the main building is the new building, the new modular? About the same distance as the newer building?
Yeah, and it's only probably, 10 feet, 10 steps from the back of the 4-5 building and the back of the K1 building. So it's going horizontal by those 2 buildings.
Okay. I just
Right.
remember how Almsville used to be, and it was uncovered, and the kids were always having to go outside to lunch, to library, to gym, to everything before my kids got there.
Yeah.
And I just don't want that to happen again.
Right.
So, okay.
Other questions?
Thank you.
I have a question. So what happens in 2 years? You're talking about you have a room for 2 years. What happens in 2 years to that room?
Well, here's the different scenarios of what needs to happen. We decide as a collective group, and I've talked to Darren about this, about what Turner's capacity is, what indeed is the infrastructure, and how many children can that entire campus support. Once we determine what that number is, we seriously take a look at our transfer policy, and we make some hard decisions in that area. Also, I am willing to go door to door and work hard for a bond measure, because in a future plan, we need a multi-purpose room for a gym and a cafeteria. Because yes, we ate in there today, but it's inadequate for 400 kids. So is our kitchen. So we need to really plan with what we're going to have. If we had a bond measure pass, which we need to work toward that goal, and we have a multi-purpose gym, cafeteria, also a multi-purpose room, because this model of this create a space, I think, is going to be here to stay, because the research supports that experiential hands-on education as being long-lasting and effective for kids learning. So that is the plan. And Darren doesn't want to hear my crazy ideas, but I've got a great estimate on a yurt, and we can find so we'll look at some options and opportunities for some creative problem solving. But let's get what we have planned in now, and before I bring up too many other ideas.
Lisa,
Yurts are amazing.
Did you just suggest we put up a yurt?
Yes, and
she suggested to put up a yurt. Yeah.
Okay.
I know, Mr. Remy, there's some safety codes and things, but I'm looking into that.
Okay.
You
It's
got
the
2
outdoor
years.
school.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with a yurt.
I just have one more of a comment, kind of on the lighter side. I see you were able to get the fiddle guy to come back again this year.
Yes, fortunately, guests are allowed, and it was wonderful. I mean, children, as soon as we get the 5th grades moved, Mrs. Koenig's 5th grade is going to be a music room, and I cannot wait to collect all the instruments that are in really strange places, like above the gym and tucked away all in one room. And we are going to be ordering fiddles, because every child had 3 lessons and actually performed. And it's that exposure. I mean, you don't know what's going to stick. So you got to throw everything at them, because we had some kids just take off with that and ask if they could get a fiddle for Christmas.
I have a 6th grader that plays the fiddle now as a direct result from that.
Yeah, very cool.
The guitar and the piano also. He just it came directly from that.
Yeah, and actually we're looking at different opportunities of what we can bring to, our school district. If we can't go there, what can we bring here? Because we do have the funding with ESSER that we need to apply to opening up the world of possibilities for these kids, because a lot of them don't get out much. Maybe that Van Gogh thing can come here. Who knows? We'll check the price. Any other questions or comments?
I have one more comment, Lisa.
Yeah.
I just wanted to really give you a shout out about this wellness program. It's very dear to my heart, but it's just so important right now that we are supporting our staff in every way possible, because they really need that. And I think this is a great start. We need to look at doing some other things also. But if there's anything we as a board can do to help you with this, let us know, because you said the magic word, and that's retaining our teachers and our staff, because, right. Because I know
we're losing a great teacher to Idaho, and not that I can blame her, but we've got to get people to enter this
we have
profession
to keep
and
what we have. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes, and thank you for doing that. Let me know if I can help, or if the board can help you at all with that.
Well, thanks. Supports everything.
Lisa, I wanted to say one thing. You mentioned earlier the well-established idea that early in the process, the adults have to believe that the students can learn.
Yes.
And I think maybe a first cousin to that idea is the magic that happens in a school when the adults truly respect students. That is a magic thing, and that I'm witnessing that in all of our schools, and especially forefront in my mind right now is Turner Elementary. The respect that all of our district staff have for young people is inspiring, and it is a critical piece. And I just so admire what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Remarkable.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Ms. Syverson, thank you very much. Moving on, Mr. Dyer.
All righty, here we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. Nice to see all you guys. And look forward to the time that we can actually sit down face to face and talk. But right now, this is adequate. First, I just want to say thank you to everybody on the board. It's really a pleasure working with all of you guys and this district. When talking with other administrators and teachers across the state, I know myself and my staff, we talk about it, how truly we feel blessed and supported from all of you from the top down. And kind of like that video that Molly showed is like the reason why you stay. The reason why teachers stay around here is because of the work that you guys do and support and the freedom that you allow us to do. And you give us the ability to do our job and to just love on kids and bless kids. And that's really apparent. And it's not like that in other places. And I just want to say thank you for just allowing us to do our jobs. Thank you for being you and just being there for us. And so I just really want to say thank you for that. And Cheryl is going to have a package for you guys. You guys are getting our newest t-shirt at Cloverdale, and it is called Country Strong. And with our new leprechaun, I don't know, mascot, but it's the flex and muscle. So this is a hot new commodity at Cloverdale. So
looks good.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, did you pose for that picture?
That's all me. Yeah, but they had to add some hair on there a little bit. So, but that's my muscle. Oh yeah.
No, I was wondering that. Nice job.
Anyway, first, after saying all that, I can't say this enough of how impressed I am with the staff here at Cloverdale. Everybody is stepping up. And most importantly, everybody's being consistent. Really, we're not having staff members gone. They're showing up every single day. If they need to be at a duty, they're not missing their duty. They're just there all the time. And what we're finding right now is what I feel, I mean, our commitment was being consistent for the kids, because after the last 2 years, everything was not consistent. Everything was, we're here, there, we're at school, we're not school, we're Zoom, we're not Zoom. And so that's really hard for kids. And so we really wanted to make a commitment just to be consistent. We did focus on the mental, when we talk about consistent, we're also just trying to keep things normal. And so when we come to school every single day, we want to get in a routine. We are routine heavy, routine expectations. And to be honest with you, the kids are loving it. They just love normal school because they missed it for all that time. They just want to be with their teachers. They just want to answer questions. And right now we're at a spot where we are hitting the stride at Cloverdale, and kids are just happy to be here. They're happy to do vocab. They want to do spelling tests. They want to do read. They want to read out loud. They want to do math. And it's really fun to see that. And it's fun to see the interactions with the teachers. But again, that starts with the teachers being consistent, providing consistent work day in and day out and week out, and just always just being there for the kids and just being a positive influence. I really wanted to say thank you for them. And that's everybody, certified, classified, Shelly in the main office, Karen Cave in the lunchroom, just everybody doing what they need to do. Also, I want to say thank you to Betty Issue. We started a Lego robotics team in the 4th grade. And so at first we were going to be trying to cut it down to only 10, but we didn't want to do that. So we basically opened the door for any 4th grader that wanted to do that. So 2 days a week after school for an hour and a half, she has 26, basically her whole class stays after and does Lego robotics. And they do STEM activities. They have a competition coming up that's been going on for the last 2.5 months. And so a huge commitment from Mrs. Issue. She is volunteering to do that. And she just wants to do that because the kids are totally eating up any type of coding, STEM activities. And they just love that. So it's really cool to see that. Also, I just wanted to say how happy I am with our new hires that we hired this year. Hiring was tough across the state and within the district, just people not applying for jobs. And I have to say that I don't know if we are just blessed or lucky or whatnot, but we have amazing people that we hired. Erica Etzel, she's working on a one-on-one with the kid. Shelly Crabtree is a longtime volunteer within the district, and she's helping out as an IA, as a reading specialist. And then Sue Varney is our reading and our EL teacher. And just every single one of them, it seems like they've been here for years, even though it's just been this year. Maybe COVID time has made it seem like they've been here for a long time, but they have been here it just seems like they're just really stepping up and doing a good job. And then finally, we are hitting a stage where we're beginning to see the academic deficits among students due to COVID. And so really we're taking the time to intervene where kids are at. And so every week we meet with a team. It's called the TAT team, also with the SST team as well as every other week. But basically what we're doing is we're looking for, we're trying to identify where these kids are struggling, where can we intervene to help them? And if the interventions are not working, what do we do next? A lot of communication with parents, a lot of work with Kathleen Johnson and her staff, Mary and Terry, and working with them is trying to find the help that kids need so they can just be where they need to be and so they can access their education. And so that's been a lot of work, and we've been really stepping up that. There's a lot of kids on that list, and so we're just trying to find the help that they need. And that's about it. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything with my report?
No.
Any questions for Mr. Dyer?
The writing workshop you did in the library, is that on? I mean, I watched the video. I haven't watched the Christmas video yet, but I watched the video. So you played music, they were writing. Was that what they were writing was up on the big whiteboard, or were they writing their own?
That was, yeah. So anyway, so I miss teaching. So any opportunity that I get to teach and I get to teach in front of kids, I will absolutely take it. And so it was kind of a double-edged sword. So one of the things is I really believe, like Lisa said, And I think all the other admin would second this, is teachers need support and time, and they just need to take care of themselves. And so I was like, how can I create time for them to have an extra prep before the weekend, or what can I do? And so, hey, I'll take your classes for an hour at a time, or hour and a half, give them a little extra time to get grading done or some different things. But also selfishly, I get to teach kids. And so I was introducing narrative writing, and I just taught narrative writing like I would have in my 7th grade English class. And I taught just writing techniques, and we've been really focusing on writing all term, and just really, so I taught them like basically what is narrative writing, all the different things, that elements of that. We talked about scoring rubrics, and then I gave them a writing topic, and they just started writing. Right now where we're at, stamina is absolutely phenomenal with our writers at Cloverdale. And so a lot of times you see that kids, I see kids that are on an IEP that usually traditionally struggle with writing. They're writing pages. Even my own son that struggles with writing, he's a slug, he hates writing, but he will still get 2 paragraphs out. And it's really cool to see kids just write and get their ideas out. And we talk about how writing is so important to communicate our ideas and to communicate our knowledge of what we just learned. And so writing is a big component of what we're doing. And it was an absolute blast. We had, most likely we only had, the most kids we could fit in the gym was 60 kids, but we had 2 classes in there at a time. And it was just a blast. It was so much fun. And it was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Dyer? All right. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. Appreciate it.
Good job,
Thank
Brian.
you guys so much. You guys have a good day.
All right. Take care. Okay, moving on to G, Director of Special Services Report, Ms. Johnson.
I thank you guys so much. First, I just want to start off with, I've been a part of the district since I was 19 years old in some kind of fashion. I started off as a coach, and then I became a teacher, and then a consultant, and I love Cascade, and you as a board have really made this district. And so even outside of special ed, to sports and teachers, we cannot say thank you enough. You have made our district what it is, with the help of all of our administrators and Mr. Drill. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart, just for as long as I've been here. So you have my report in front of you, and I want to kick, if Brian Dyer was sitting next to me, I'd kick him in the shin, because he kind of took what I was going to say without even knowing it about hiring. Starting this, thank you, Brian. Starting the beginning or at the end of last school year, I needed to replace several staff. Some of it I had to do in the middle of last school year. And I had 10 positions I had to fill for this school year. And in the world of special education, that's a lot of positions in one department. And I cannot say enough how blessed our district is, because we got the cream of the crop as far as new hires go. And I want to give it some specific shout outs. I mean, they're all fantastic. All of my hires, I could not be more pleased. But there are a few I want to really highlight tonight. And that one is Wendy Smith. She is our speech language pathologist for Turner and Cloverdale. She is amazing with kids. She is knowledgeable. She writes the best IEP I've seen in a long time. And she is she's amazing. She's jumped in with 2 feet and she is killing it. So I wanted to give a shout out to her. I also want to talk about my adult transition program. Erin Crowder came in and she had to build this program alongside with me, a brand new program in our district that we haven't had. And she has done an outstanding job. She is a go-getter. She reaches out to community members. She's working with families. She's dropping off her own personal card into different employers. It's amazing. I also want to talk about Caleb Conley. This is a teacher who's currently in a special ed program who will be finished at the end of this school year. He has one of the most difficult jobs in the district. He is working in 2 different schools like Wendy, where he works at Almsville and Cloverdale. And when you are a brand new special ed teacher who's going through a program, working in 2 schools is a challenge that not many would take. And not only did he take it, he took it with grace. And he has done an outstanding job. He is writing some of the best IEPs I have seen in my career. He has, he's constantly asking great questions. He wants coaching, he wants guidance. And anybody on here who's ever been a coach, we've always said we want coachable players, but we also want coachable teachers. And this, Caleb Conley has hit it out of the ballpark. So I cannot say thank you enough for him. And one of the last people I really want to acknowledge tonight is Krista Gray, our district nurse. As Darren Drill has talked a lot about COVID in our protocols, Krista Gray, new to our district, she has done an amazing job juggling a bajillion different balls being thrown at her. She is on the phone all day long with parents, with Marion County Health Authority, and trying to figure out ODE's new guidelines, Marion County's new guidelines, Oregon Health Authority's new guidelines, and then reporting it back to us. And she has done it with an abundance of grace. And any parent that's on here that's had the opportunity to talk to Krista, she does so. She makes those phone calls to parents saying, unfortunately, you know, your child's been exposed or they've tested positive and they have to quarantine. And she does it with such compassion. And I cannot say thank you enough, because again, I highlighted her in my last board report, but I didn't have the opportunity to say it out loud. Krista Gray has really made a huge difference in our district and just the ability to navigate all of these COVID protocols. And the last thing I wanted to say is just a shout out to all of our administrators, because when it comes to short staffing, we can't just shut down special ed, right? We have an obligation to provide services to all of our kiddos. And COVID has created this incredible obstacle that you can't even describe or begin to fathom how impactful this has been to all of our students with disabilities. And so shutting down a classroom is huge. Being short-staffed is a huge deal to these kids. And our administrators across the entire district, they've subbed in classrooms. I've subbed in classrooms too, but these individuals at all the elementary schools, junior high and high school, I cannot say thank you enough to them, because they are jumping in and filling needs for our highest need students. And I just wanted to say that out loud to our school board.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
Did you find a van?
Not yet, but I did find one. I reached out, and they're hard to find. So before, used car shopping before COVID was much easier. But then finding one that is wheelchair accessible and has the correct loading lights and all the extra safety equipment that we're required to have. Every time I would call to find one, they would already be sold, or they had been sold and forgot to take it off of the website. But I did find one, and I have to reach out to Scott to see if he can bump up my budget just a little bit. Good. That phone call happens tomorrow. Just be prepared, Scott.
Hey, Ms. Johnson, I do have one question for you. Can you talk a little bit about the TBRI program that you mentioned in your report? I can. So with COVID, we know that our kids were out of school for an extremely long time. And with that, when they came back with a different set of needs, and more students had been exposed to even more trauma. And trauma can be anything from a divorce. It can be from parents losing jobs. It can be, you know, a change in childcare, not even being at school. Those are all pieces of trauma. And when our kids came back, especially students in special ed with a disability, we saw an uptick in extreme behaviors. And we can't just go straight to suspension every time a kiddo explodes. We have to stop and think about what we as the adults can do differently. And we actually had a parent bring it to my attention that her family was utilizing this therapist in Portland. And she asked if I would be interested in bringing in this individual to provide this professional development. And I'm all about looking into very applicable professional development. And so I did my research, I reached out to the therapist, and I was immediately intrigued. Trust-based relationship, this program coincides with collaborative problem solving, which is what Kevin Carroll brought to you guys about 4 or 5 years ago. And we have maintained the collaborative problem solving that coincides with PBIS, our behavior programs in all the schools.
And this was probably, and if any of my Cindy, Zach, or Kelly, they would, if they were on here and they could show their video, this was probably the best professional development that I have been a part of. And I would say at least 10 years. It was applicable. It was spot on. The presenter was fantastic. And I came back and told Darren, this needs to be something for our entire district at the beginning of next school year. Because it's not just for special education, it's truly for all kids. When we talk about moving the learning pendulum, right? When we talk about that, it starts with relationships first. And this is what this is all about for all kids. And as we start to move on over the next year, 2 years, we're going to start to see an even bigger need for relationships from our adults in every single department.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a question. And what was his answer about getting this guest speaker in the fall?
He actually said, okay, well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Good answer.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because he knew I wasn't going to say, let it go. So I think,
Right.
All right.
There you go. Good for you.
Well, then we look forward to hearing more
That
about
sounds
it.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much. Moving on, we've got Director of Communications report, Ms. Sattler.
Evening, you guys. You have my report, and I shared a lot of things in there, but I really just wanted to go over kind of my goals for communications this year. At the beginning of the year, I wanted to set some very intentional goals of what I wanted our district communications to be. Number one was re-engaging families and keeping our families informed. That's first and foremost. And we're still dealing with COVID and an ever-changing situation that we get new information all the time. So making sure our families are up to date and up to speed with what the current protocols are was probably our number one priority. And we adopted a new communications tool called Parent Square this year to help really streamline communications from the district level to the school level down to the classroom level. So that was one. Two was owning our own story. The last school year, I spent a lot of time, or I felt like I spent a lot of time last year in crisis communications or working on a bond measure. So I wanted to revisit that, owning our story and sharing those positive stories and the reason people come to our district, the reason that people are excited to send their kids to school. COVID is dominating a lot of just people's lives, but there's still some really amazing things happening in our buildings. And I wanted to make sure we're sharing that and showing people that despite these challenges, there's some really special things happening in our schools. So that too was owning our story. Three was using my role and building more culture with internal communications and having an intentional internal communications plan from the district office. So I started a staff newsletter that goes out once a month, and that's really just a positive, uplifting email that I can send staff once a month. Sometimes it's recipes, sometimes it's TED Talks and motivational things. Sometimes there's little updates here and there, but I really wanted that to be something fun that's not heavy, that they can get in their inbox once a month. And I really enjoy working on that. And then number 4 this year is just building and maintaining community partnerships. And so that's what I've been working on this school year. And before I take questions, I did want to share something for Board Appreciation Month. I get to work in all the buildings and I get to talk to kids. And so I wanted to put together a video. The premise of this is very much, kids say the darndest things. So we played a word association game. I said a word, I told the kids to just say the first thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to share my screen and hope that this works. And I have about a 2-minute video for you guys. Okay, so when I say something, you say the first thing that comes to mind. School.
Chair. Classroom. Tired. Elementary.
School board.
Game. A wall.
Oops, sorry. Try this again. Okay, so when I say something, you say the first thing that comes to mind. School.
Chair. Classroom. Tire. Elementary.
School board.
Game. A wall. Mr. Dyer in the Cascade district.
Whiteboard. Me. So I'm gonna pause this because it looks like the audio and the video are not matched up. But I will send you this video. It was really fun to work on, and the kids had some pretty ridiculous and hilarious answers. And I'll send it your way, and you can look for that email from me tomorrow.
It looks like fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.
But be sure to send it to Mr. Dyer too, since he's the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my favorite was, when I said some of your names and they do rhymes, or like my Uncle David, or when I said Karen Ramsire. My favorite was when I said Karen Ramsire and a kid said Fred Meyer. So that is something I guess you can look forward to, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Yep.
Oh,
good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Moving on. We've got the Food Service Director's Report. Mr. Vetter.
All right. Hopefully you
There he
can
is.
see me. Oh, there I am. Cool. All right. Well, it's good to see all of you again. I think last time I saw you, you guys were all in person. So welcome to my home. Thanks for being here. So just to kind of go over, you have my report, but I just want to go over a couple of highlights for you. We're continuing to have issues with the shortages of food, paper goods. I'm sure you've seen it at the grocery stores and things like that. But we've been able to survive. Our menus at each and every one of our schools, it's not the same thing at every single school. So the flexibility that Darren's allowed me to do, I really appreciate that, because it's just been us doing the best that we can, essentially. We've seen an increase, I think it was through November, where we served almost 43,000 more lunches compared to last year. So we're having huge continued growth with our programs. I just found out last week that the USDA is now going to be giving us 25 cents more per meal. So just that 43,000 meals we served extra, that's about $10,000 more, which is wonderful because, as you know, the cost of food is astronomical now. I'm getting emails from our vendors where they're increasing prices almost seems weekly on us. We're seeing things rise 7 to 15 to 20% now, more than we paid a year ago. So we are continuing to utilize our commodities that we receive from the federal government. Luckily, those aren't affected by the inflation issue at all. It's just whether or not we can get those products and things like that. So we're doing good on that aspect. The staff is doing a wonderful, phenomenal job. This school year, we also served local produce this year from Riverwood Orchards out of Independence, Oregon. We served some of our red pears and some of our apples that were really, really good. Unfortunately, he did run out, but the plan is to continue to utilize his service year after year. We have a grant to pay for Oregon produced food or Oregon grown food. So we're actually able to get all of those products for free. And so basically we just pay the invoice and then I submit to the state and they reimburse us. So it's a good deal, and also helps support our Oregon farmers. So it's a really good deal. And then I guess the last thing for me is that I need to say goodbye to you guys, which is really sad. So I am going to become a Hoosier. I'm going to be moving to Indiana and with my family. And my last day with both districts will be February 28th. And it wasn't a decision based upon job satisfaction. I love working for Cascade as well as North Santiam. Darren, you've been an incredible boss to work for. I really appreciate you a lot. It's nice to work for a superintendent that actually has business sense. It's pretty rare to have somebody that actually understands business and things like that. So when I have a conversation with him, he actually understands what I'm talking about. And I really appreciate that, Darren. So, thank you so much. When I gave my notice, I did a lot of recruiting of folks that I work with that are also food service directors, and we were able to find somebody that's really equal to or better than what we have right now. So I'm excited for you. My goal was to leave you guys successful, and I think you guys are going to have a great future, great continued future. And one cool thing too is that the Cascade food service program is no longer a program that operates as a deficit. We are now excessive revenue. So now we can buy the new equipment, we can afford the more expensive food and things like that. So we can also repair aging equipment and things like that. So that's how we're investing the money right now. Looking forward to Cascade having a great future. I will keep contact just to see how things are going with you guys, just because I want to keep that momentum going in the future, when I'm gone. So I just wanted to thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
appreciate it.
You've done some amazing things. Thank you very much.
Mike,
Yeah.
I do want to ask you a couple questions.
Yes, please.
So you did say that the price of food continues to go up. Are we as a district limited to the vendors we can use and purchase those foods from? Or can we, if somebody calls and says, hey, I got bad news, rates are going up 15%, do we have the option to pick up the phone? What are our limitations?
Yeah. So, in your typical USDA business, no, we wouldn't have any flexibilities. But now the USDA federal government is allowing us flexibilities to be creative. For example, during the Obama administration, everything had to be whole grain and all these types of things. Well, just getting whole grain bread or whole grain products is super difficult for us right now. And so right now there's flexibility where I'm serving white bread and white tortillas and white rice. And guess what? Kids love it because it doesn't taste like styrofoam. And
Right.
So there is some flexibilities, and I am taking full advantage of it. Like for example, where I mentioned where each school is serving their own thing. So no school is the same every day because of those flexibilities. And so with our food items, right now, it's the paper right now is really killing us more than anything right now. And so luckily, when Lisa mentioned, us going back to the cafeteria, I found out about that today. I was really excited just because I know that paper products are really, really difficult for us right now. And we're having to be very, very creative right now. And so we're gonna go to lunch trays. We can wash those. I provided them. I found 2 more cases for them. And so I think we're going to be fine there. It's just, I think as long as we're flexible and we understand that we're doing the best that we can, I think food service will be a survivable program for the families.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you've done.
I do have a question too.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to be here, which is sad. I'm very sorry because it's been an incredible program. Being able to buy local produce, can we expand that program for next year, or will we be able to look different places for more stuff?
Yeah. So the person that I recruited heavily, he is an expert in local produce. He was the president also of the National Commodity Association for the US. And he's an Oregon guy, and he also works for OD. He's going to be an incredible asset for Cascade. He was the person that pushed local produce. He knows the vendors' names. He knows like their telephone numbers. It's a huge deficit for the state of Oregon, who he currently works for. But for Cascade and North San Am, you guys are going to have an incredible resource not only for the staff with his knowledge, but also what he can bring to Cascade and North Santiam. So I'm really excited for you guys. His name's Chris, and he's just going to do an incredible job for you. He's going to bring that produce that you want to see, that I want to see. It's more economical, but also I will tell you, it does taste better.
Oh yeah.
So, one thing that we will have to invest in, and right now we're seeing it difficult for us, is just refrigeration space, freezer space. I was able to, at North Santiam, to get 2 grants, and they were a total of $150,000 to pay for a new freezer for North Santiam, for our commodity freezer. And we put that, had approved, ready to go almost 7 months ago. And right now, all we have is a foundation. So, and they're still talking not until May or June. And so, as we expand our program, and again, we are making more money at Cascade, I can see us investing in things like that, because, produce does require refrigeration and things like that. Luckily, most of our schools do have walk-in refrigerators. It's just, it does take lots of space right now. But I can see, Chris, with his leadership for you guys, using that to your guys' advantage.
Well, good.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Good luck in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys, and take care.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr.
Bye.
Better. All right. Okay. Before we move on, I will say real quick, thank you to everyone for all the kind words that you said for both us as the board and for your own staff and team. Those are very meaningful and much appreciated. So thank you for that. All right. Moving on to number 6A, personnel, Ms. Moorfield.
Good evening. I'm going to echo what everybody else has said this evening and just thank each and every one of you for your time and commitment that you give to Cascade and making us who we are and what we are, and we are what makes people want to stay. This is my 25th year for Cascade, and I couldn't see myself anywhere else. So thank you for all that you do for us. We do have a couple of new hires in your packet tonight. One is Jessica Scholl, Title I teacher at Almsville. We've had several of our administrators talk to you about how difficult it's been to hire staff this year. And we've had our Title I position open since the beginning of the school year. So it's really hard to fill positions right now. We also hired a temporary substitute for the secondary campus, as Darren talked about earlier in the meeting. We do have a couple of subs that work every single day. They're on the secondary campus. We're still in the process of trying to find an elementary substitute teacher so that we have somebody on the elementary campus every single day for the instances where we have a lot of staff absent and we just don't have any subs picking up those positions.
Thank you.
And then we do have a resignation in your packet tonight as well. So you will see that we have a resignation from Emma Cromwell, who was one of our kindergarten teachers at Almsville Elementary. And do you guys have any questions for me?
Is she gone? It says effective immediately, so she's effectively gone now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The person that we hired, is she a kindergarten teacher for Almsville?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, because we just got the resignation.
Oh, yeah. I see the date.
Yeah. So we have that position posted, and I know Cindy will get that position, get somebody hired as soon as we possibly can.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moorfield. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to B, board policy, second reading. Mr. Drill.
So in your packet, this is the second reading. We did the first reading back in November. No real changes here. Again, I would say almost 90% of these were updates from the state legislature. Almost all of them are requirements or highly, highly recommended from the staff at Oregon School Board Association, your staff attorneys there. So I don't see any issues, and I recommend moving forward with those.
All right, perfect. Any questions on that, everybody? Nope, we're good. Okay, then we'll move on to 6C, construction excise tax. Mr. Drill.
So in your packet is the construction excise tax amount. I think it was way back before my time as a superintendent. We began this program where we get a tax on new construction that at least helps us cover some of the costs as more and more people move into our district. This kind of tax has helped us many times over with roads and curbs, not roads, but concrete, asphalt, paint on our striping on our parking lots, all kinds of help with regard to fixing drains and hey, the water's bubbling up in the middle of a football field. I think that was about 10 years ago. We have used this money to cover that kind of thing. It started at a certain amount, and then over time, the legislature has added inflation to it. If you look at it, we have not moved off $1.30 for a number of years. Considering everything else is going up, the cost is going up. We need to. We are recommending. I hope that you'll do it. Move it to the $1.45 per square foot as you see it. Non-residential would be 72 cents. So it's just time. We haven't done it for 3 or 4 years, and we'll make a move. And then our hope is not to do it again for 3 or 4 more years. So we're trying to find that balance. But that is where we're at. In the middle of all this and making sure that Scott was taking care of our audit, I forgot to talk to him about that. And so he can answer any questions you might have in general terms, but this one's kind of on me. But it's time to make this move for any new building, new type of building, that kind of thing. We need to be able to take our small share so we can cover those costs. Questions?
I have a question. Is it $1.41 or is it $1.45?
It'll be $1.41 for 21-22 and then $1.45 for 22-23. That's how I would ask that it would go.
Okay.
I think that's how we put it together. Is that right, Cheryl?
They have certain, if you look at the paper, there are certain amounts you can go up to. So we have to follow the 21-22 school year, which is
141.
141. So that's what we would be going to, is the 141.
And then next year you could vote again. You'd have to do a resolution every year, but typically it shows up in your fall, or in your annual packet in July, in your, we call it the business meeting, your first meeting of the year, where you set all the auditors and all of that stuff. So we'll just put it in that first meeting packet for next year, and you can discuss it at that time.
So today what we're asking for is a 141 for the rest of the school year.
Okay.
Hey, Darren, maybe if anybody knows this, or Scott, and it's $1 per square foot. Is that square foot on a residential, for example, is that footprint on the ground, or is that square foot of living space? Do we know how that's defined?
Cheryl, would you like to go ahead?
Oh, it's square foot of living space added onto a residential place.
Okay.
And there's a number of exclusions to this as well. So if it's low income housing, if it's manufactured housing, there's a variety of different exclusions. So people that are, really in a pinch, there's a number of ways to kind of get out of paying that.
That was my other question is there ways to get out of this? I suspect the answer is yes.
We get phone calls. We get phone calls all the time. Cheryl walks through the process with them. For example, I have a house, I'm remodeling it. So my original house was 1,500 square feet. Now I'm building an 1,800 square foot home. We only do the additional 300 square feet. And that's what we charge.
As new construction.
Yeah. So Cheryl does a great job of making sure that we follow all those rules. We send it into the county or the city, and then we get the amount of money back from those municipal groups on a regular basis.
Got it. Okay.
Darren, it looks like it's about a 2-cent increase, right? And in former years, it's been 3, 4, it's been higher. Am I seeing that correctly?
I think that's right. But if I remember right, Cheryl, jump in. Are we at 139 right now, or are we at 130?
We are at 130.
Yeah.
So we're at
It's been a couple
130.
years since we've done this.
Okay, we're at the 2018-19.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Drill. Moving on is 7A, board recognition.
So I think you guys have been really, really recognized this evening. So I will leave it at that. But as a superintendent for a while now here, would really like to thank you, all 5 of you, for this year. Being in your role this year, particularly more than any other, has been very, very difficult. And doing what's right for our kids, doing what's right for our community. I know there are people that disagree sometimes, but I got to tell you, considering some of the other places across the state that are really having problems getting 5 or 7 members of the school board to get along, let alone yelling, scream at each other in the middle of a meeting. I just want to appreciate your professionalism, your ability to think about kids first, your ability to think about education first, and spend time really, really making sure that it's our kids that matter. Every time I've had a conversation with you guys, it's about how does that affect kids? And, you know, we might disagree on some things sometimes, our community might disagree on things sometimes, but you guys have one singular focus, and that is about our kids. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you.
Yep. 7B is COVID numbers. You have those there. So now you have the December numbers, which were really low, the November numbers, which were a little bit higher than that, and goes back to September, October, November, December. We will get you January numbers next month, but you can count on the fact it will go up. And that's just the way that this is working. But as I said before, again, our goal is to keep kids in school open, and we will do the very best we can.
All right.
Looking at this real quick, there's no differentiation between staff and kids when these are reported?
Correct. Those are all cases at those places that include staff and students together.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Good question. Good question.
Okay. Any other COVID questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Mr. Drill. We'll move on to
the last piece is,
advisory list.
yep, the last one's the advisory list. We have now added our winter sports in there about how some of those sports and activities are broken down. We'll have those. And then finally in the spring, we'll do spring sports. I'm being optimistic because I believe we will continue to have our programs. So that's our goal. That's our goal.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any questions on that on the coach advisory list? Nope. Okay. So we will move on to number 8, which is the public comments. And bear with me here as I go through this. Cascade School District has a new public comment procedure following House Bill 2560. The bill requires the governing body of a public body to extend reasonably possible to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide the opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony. Public comment forms and written submissions must be submitted by 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Only those who have turned in a comment form by the deadline will be given the opportunity to address the board. Please note, it is especially important to remember that we all model the way for our students, and we ask that you share your thoughts in a respectful way. The board chair will ask you to stop speaking if you are not able to adhere to these guidelines. Audience time is not intended as a forum for public debate. Thank you for your support of our district. With that being said, we have one public comment from Jay Woodrow. Did I say that right?
Woodward,
pardon me.
Jen Woodward. Yep.
Jen, there it is. Jen Woodward. All right. So is Jen Woodward with us? Please turn on your camera to address the board. You have 3 minutes to speak, and we ask that you refrain from using personally identifiable information such as names or occupations. Guests are only allowed to address the board 1 time during this meeting.
I don't see that name.
It was a written one, Brett.
It was written. Does that mean that we're having that individual? Cheryl, are they going to be on with us? Do we know?
No, they just submitted a written.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A written thing, and it's attached there for your.
Got it. All right. I thought they were going to join us and also speak on that. So Jen, thank you for sending in your comment. So I guess we have no other comments for the public section then, correct? Okay. All right. Thank you. Then moving on, we will go to number 9, which is the resolutions. Bear with me. All right, we've got 9A, resolution regarding the new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the hire of Jessica Scholl, temporary elementary teacher, Title I, and Bradley Troll, temporary secondary substitute teacher, as recommended by the administration.
Seconded.
Agenda item 9A, resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 9B, resolution regarding resignation.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the resignation of Emma Cromwell, elementary teacher, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
9A, resolution regarding resignation has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9C, resolution regarding board policies, second reading.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the second reading of the board policies listed below.
Second.
9C, resolution regarding board policy, second reading has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 9D, resolution regarding construction excise tax rate.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the increase in the construction excise tax rate in accordance with the recommendations of the state of Oregon. The new CE tax rate will be $1.41 per square foot of residential and 71 cents per square foot non-residential, with a non-residential maximum of 35,200.
Second.
9D, resolution regarding construction excise tax rate has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Future agenda items. Mr. Drill, anything we need to?
I think we continue to make sure you've got your COVID information updated and taken care of. And then obviously our goal, and I know it's your goal, to put our board meetings back in person. I appreciate that that you guys were listening to Oregon School Boards Association, Oregon Health Authority, and Department of Ed about doing this online. I know we've got some people that would prefer to be face-to-face, but I also appreciate making sure that we don't have anybody end up in a situation where they're exposed somehow and I lose some administrators or others to making sure we've got buildings running and up and going. I'm hopeful in 4 or 5 weeks that we will get back to face-to-face board meetings, but we'll see how that goes depending on what our situation is with COVID. So other than that, I think we're good.
All right. Anything else, gang, before we go?
I think so.
Nope. Okay. Again, thank you everyone for the comments and the kind words for the Board Appreciation Month. It's much appreciated. And I think we all very much value what we're doing and appreciate being here on the team. So thank you all.
Right. It goes a long way. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
gang. I think we're done. Meeting adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.